It all began so quietly. Just a normal evening in a dimly lit living room, a black and white film playing softly in the background. I had no intentions, nothing planned, nothing even imagined. But when his hand brushed mine, something deep inside me stirred, something I had forgotten was even there. And from that moment, the course of everything changed. My name is Dana, I'm 47 years old and have been married to Paul for more than 20 years. Together, we built a life, 2 children, a home, and a mountain of shared responsibilities. Our days became rhythms we no longer questioned. We no longer argued, but we didn't laugh either. The intimacy, the spark, the feeling of being truly seen and wanted, it had all gone quiet inside me a long time ago. Then came Tyler. He's 31 now, the boy who used to sleep over at our house, splash in our pool, and call me Miss Dana. He's the son of my best friend, practically family. I even remember his high school graduation hug, longer than I expected, but innocent at the time. Years passed. He went to college, grew up, changed. He became taller, more composed. There was a calm gentleness in him, and somehow it felt different when he looked at me now. He started to notice things, when I looked tired, when I wore something new. Paul hadn't looked at me like that in years. That particular night, Paul had taken his usual pills early and gone upstairs to bed. Tyler stayed behind to finish watching a movie. He said he liked the classics, how they reminded him of a time when life felt less complicated. I sat next to him on the couch, just like we'd done many times before. But this time, something was different. The air felt heavier, as if it was waiting for something. Our knees touched. Just barely, but I didn't move. Shadows from the flickering TV played across the room, but I couldn't tell you what was on the screen. All I could think about was the pressure of his thigh next to mine. And then, it happened. His hand slipped, just enough to cross a boundary. And I didn't pull away. I hated how natural it all felt. For years, I convinced myself that I didn't need that kind of closeness anymore, that Paul and I had simply grown into a quieter kind of love. I thought we had matured into silence, into comfort. But in that quiet moment with Tyler, I realized silence wasn't peace. It was emptiness, and I had been starving for far too long. We didn't rush into it. There was no wild moment, no dramatic turning point. We didn't even look at each other at first. He kept his eyes on the movie. I kept mine on him. His fingers slipped gently under the edge of my shorts, slow, warm, intentional, and I couldn't catch my breath. He leaned in, not for a kiss, but to whisper something close to my ear. He said he'd stop if I wanted him to. I couldn't answer, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't want him to stop. The way he touched me, it wasn't casual. It was like I mattered. Like I was someone worth longing for. Like he had waited for this moment, and now that it was here, he wasn't going to waste it. When I finally turned to him, I kissed him. It was soft, shaky, but real. His lips against mine felt like finally breaking the surface after drowning for years. In that moment, I didn't feel like someone's wife. Or someone's mother. I was simply a woman who wanted to be seen, to be touched, to be needed. We folded into each other on the couch as the TV flickered in the background, forgotten. He moved with care, like he was handling something fragile. My shirt slid up beneath my ribs, and his hands explored gently, as if memorizing every inch. Over and over, I told myself I should stop. That I needed to pull away. But every time I tried, his hands found some place on me that quieted the voice of reason in my head. There was nothing forceful about it. Nothing rushed. Just the steady weight of someone who knew exactly how to make me feel alive. Then came the sound, a faint creak somewhere down the hall. Maybe a floorboard, maybe a pipe. We froze, breath caught in our throats. His forehead pressed gently against mine, and he whispered that we shouldn't be doing this. I nodded. I knew he was right. But then I kissed him again. Because by then, it was already far too late. When the credits finally rolled, the room was steeped in a heavy silence. We were still tangled together, both unsure of what the moment meant now that it had passed. I looked at him, his shirt rumpled, lips slightly swollen, his eyes searching mine for something neither of us could name. I asked him quietly, "What happens now?" But he didn't answer. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen with a full cup of coffee that had gone cold. The sound of the bathroom door creaking open made my pulse quicken. He walked past me without a word, filled his glass with water, and didn't look back. I didn't lift my head either, but the tension in the air said everything. It was the kind of charged silence that hides behind pleasantries, humming just below the surface of normalcy. Later that week, we crossed paths in the laundry room. Our hands brushed as we both reached for the basket. We froze. Then he said it, soft, but sure, he couldn't stop thinking about that night. I told him I couldn't either. But we both knew it shouldn't happen again. The problem was, that night hadn't satisfied anything. It had only opened something inside me, something ravenous. I started avoiding the living room once the sun went down, not because I feared him walking in, but because I didn't trust myself if he did. I locked my bedroom door, not to keep him out, but to keep myself in. Still, the memories haunted me. The warmth of his breath on my neck. The pressure of his hand on my thigh. The way his gaze had made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. A few days later, we found ourselves sitting on the porch steps at sunset. The sky glowed in soft orange, and we sat with space between us, not quite close, not quite distant. He broke the silence first, noting how quiet I'd been. I told him I'd been thinking. He said he had too. When I finally looked at him, I told the truth, I should never have let it happen. He didn't argue, just said, but you did. And I didn't stop you. The quiet that followed settled in our chests, thick and tight, making it hard to breathe. When he finally stood and walked away into the fading light, I didn't call out to him. I didn't say goodbye, I just watched until he disappeared completely into the shadows. Inside, the world kept turning. Paul was at the sink, washing dishes, his movements slow and familiar. I stood in the doorway holding a wine glass, the stem cold in my hand, pretending to be present. When he asked if I was okay, I nodded without hesitation. But the truth was lodged somewhere deep in my chest, heavy and unspoken. Because I wasn't okay, not even close. The worst part wasn't the fact that it happened, that in one quiet night, I let myself cross a line I swore I never would. No, the worst part was something far more difficult to admit. The worst part was that I wanted it to happen again. And the terrifying, undeniable truth lived in me now like a secret I could never shake. A quiet evening turns into something irreversible when Dana, a 47-year-old married woman, finds herself drawn into a moment of forbidden intimacy with Tyler, her best friend's son. What began as an innocent movie night becomes the awakening of a desire she thought long buried. As memories of that night linger, Dana battles with guilt, longing, and the hollow truth of her marriage. Her silence hides a secret, not just that it happened, but that deep down, she wants it to happen again. Disclaimer. This story is a dramatized fictional narrative inspired by real emotional themes and does not promote or condone infidelity. It is intended for mature audiences and aims to explore the complexity of human emotions, unmet needs, and the consequences of choices in intimate relationships. Thank you for watching and listening to this story. Sometimes the quietest betrayals are the ones we carry alone, hidden behind nods, smiles, and unspoken longings. If this story made you feel seen or stirred something within you, share it with someone who might understand. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, so you'll always be the first to catch the next story that dares to go where most won't. Stay honest, stay human. Until next time.